Today on Midwest Ghost Hunters Dark Matter Podcast, we are podcasting from Pythian Castle in Springfield, Missouri. Welcome to Midwest Ghost Hunters Dark Matter Podcast. I am John, Chris, Dustin, and Melissa all here today for the podcast.
Our website, by the way, we don't give it out very much, but probably should, is mwghosthunter's.com. If you want to see, we've got our investigations we've done on there. We've even got merchandise on there now.
Yeah, some cool merch.
And sold some, believe it or not. It's like, who would buy it? I guess they do. But anyway, it's at mwghosthunter's.com if you want to check that out.
And I actually heard a rumor that if you've got the merch on when you're ghost hunting, it actually improves the paranormal activity. I don't know if that's true or not, but I did hear that rumor.
I don't think that's true.
We don't know.
Just throwing that out there.
The listeners will have to try it out and let us know.
I was just thought I'd throw it out.
But yeah, we're here at Pythian Castle in Springfield, Missouri, and just as we were sitting here, just kind of shooting the shit for longer than we should have here before we started, we've heard voices in here
All
already.
kinds of stuff.
So hopefully we'll pick up some of that because we've heard it right through our headphones. So hopefully we'll pick up some of that on the podcast today. Some of it we hear, and some of it we don't until we listen back to the podcast with you guys when you listen. But we'll see what kind of pops up today.
Melissa, does the all the people coming through around Halloween, does it usually ramp up the activity at the castle?
Yes, November is usually a good month for activity. Doesn't matter if we had an overnight group last night.
I couldn't have drank that coffee any louder or more right into the microphone.
No, it's like...
Right, I mean, like, right, it's like a...
We're so professional. This is coming from
Throw
someone
down
who
the
was,
challenge.
on the radio for how many years?
Yeah. Several.
Yeah.
But hey, we talked about, on this, what you were talking about, we talked about doing another investigation here in November for that reason.
Yeah. For some reason, November, the activity seems to be high. And I don't know if that's from all the people coming through, all the energy being stirred up, but it tends to be pretty good in November.
We should do that because we kind of dropped the ball in October.
Well, I know, we did. I mean, once a couple of weeks are wiped out, did you hear that?
I did. I absolutely heard that.
Okay. I saw you look around as soon as I heard that. I was like that.
It was
but
John is
what it
so
says.
good at this. You're going to be a great ghost.
I'm already underway.
We're going to employ you here. I heard it. Did you hear
Yeah,
it?
I didn't hear that.
that female.
What was that just now?
Yeah.
You guys heard that?
Yeah. And the thing about it is,
I missed it.
before anyone jumps in and says, hey, that was just Melissa, explain to me how Melissa does that over Melissa.
Well, no, I was looking at her when you guys...
No, it was like in there. It sounded like it came from in there.
That's what we heard earlier, too. We heard, and it had an echo to it. And I just heard it again in my headphone. That same whisper. Well, I'll have to make sure that's not a movement. I'll watch and check here from now on.
When I was setting up today, I thought I saw Melissa's chair move, and I'm not trying to be funny with that either.
That's the chair
I really
that did move the day that we were here
Yes.
that day. Just me and you.
Yes.
And I saw it move, and I didn't say a word.
I wasn't going to say
because I thought
anything
maybe John
about
kicked
that.
it or, whatever. But then it happened again. I think later in that same podcast, it happened again, and we saw it, and it was that chair right there.
I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to freak her out, because I didn't want to have her freaked out going into the
It's
podcast.
going to have to be a strong ghost to move this chair with my booty sitting in it. That's all I'm gonna
I just
say.
heard something under
It sounded
her.
like, ooh.
Yep.
Yeah.
I heard it. We'll have to listen. We'll have to listen back. People, if anybody's listening to the podcast for the first time, they're gonna be like, "Oh, they're one of those." They hear, something in everything. We don't at all. We're totally the opposite. Usually, whenever we go somewhere, it's the opposite. But whenever we're here, it just kind of lights up for whatever reason. We hear all kinds of things, so we're on more guard here than we are typically because you hear a lot of stuff inside here, and that's not us trying to sell tickets. Heaven knows they sold plenty in October. And we don't get a kickback at all.
Well, and Melissa encourages you to please come in November. If you didn't get a chance to come in October, come to the castle in November.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people didn't get a chance to come in October, and this is probably the month where there's a higher amount of activity than there was last year.
Absolutely. And it's going to be a lot better time. And if you're wanting to get an off time, go on a Tuesday.
Or a Friday or a Saturday.
And we've been here. We have done an overnight investigation here. A lot of stuff happens. A lot of stuff happened when we were here for that. I want to do another one. This month would be good. If we get that, make that happen, we'll have to work on that. What were we talking about right before that? I've lost track.
We're talking about how we didn't do as much in October as we would have.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's just everything gets busy.
Well, it's busy. And then I was essentially out of commission for like 2 weeks because I had so much COVID in my work. I mean, so much that I was afraid to come in here because it's October and you got all these people coming through. And I was afraid to, come in here on some idle Sunday and then, Monday find out that I'm also positive and whatever. So several days there it knocked us out. And then the girl whose house we were going to go to in Fair Grove, which we still are. I just talked to her Friday. She said anytime. I said, when are we going to reschedule that? She said, I don't care, whenever. So we can really do it whenever we want. Whenever the timing works out, we can go do that. But she got COVID too, and that's why we had to cancel that, because she works in nursing, so she is exposed to it about like me and Ty and Bobby are. So anyway, yeah, our October was kind of not a lot. We didn't get to do the stuff we'd planned on, but it doesn't always work out where you can. Hopefully, we'll in November get to come out here again and do another overnight. Here, I think that would be super cool, because now we got Hunter. Who's a really good, video guy who wants to come. He wants to, he doesn't just want to come to that. He wants to start coming. And he's a really good video guy.
And we'll call him Ghost Hunter.
Well, and he's like a really good YouTube. I mean, I would just give him the YouTube, just say here, because I'm not good at that.
John.
Oh. Is there a dog here?
Yeah.
Okay. I may have heard a dog.
No.
Well, anybody wondering, Hunter's Tyler and I's younger brother.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, but he's got a YouTube channel. He's got a lot of followers on his. Yeah, he does like gaming or whatever.
Ghost Hunter.
He does editing and.
But yeah, he does a lot of video like editing, and he knows video, he knows YouTube, and I would just give it to him. I would be more than happy just to say, here, take this, because it's not my thing. So he wants to come join us for that and future investigations and whatever. So that would be good. Okay, so today, I guess, we didn't really have any specific topic in mind, but man, whenever we miss a week, people sure do email, and they are fired up and pissed off that we don't have a new episode. So here we are, talking about whatever today. We don't really have a specific topic.
Did they have any great questions that they had for the crew?
I didn't even get to that.
Okay.
No, I didn't even get. That was one of the things we were going to do, is post some questions, specific questions, and we can just say it right here. Is there anything you wanted to know about paranormal investigating, or what, paranormal in general, or equipment, or anything like that?
One of the things that always comes up is Ouija boards. Dustin always points out, and rightfully so, that there are millions and millions of Ouija boards made. But I got to thinking about something, and if you go in and you look at anything like cigarettes, chewing tobacco, anything like that, there's warnings on the side of that says this product may cause cancer. And I often wonder if the Ouija board isn't a scenario thing that's kind of like that that there are people that can use them and it's just fine and there's no problems at all. But you get the right person in the right scenario that gets a hold of one and there's problems.
I don't think it needs a warning, because I don't think it works.
And see, I'm the exact opposite. I won't touch a Ouija board.
I won't either. I'm right in between. I don't necessarily believe in it, but I'm certainly not going to be the one who tries it.
Well, I don't, and I'm, the ones you buy from the store, but some of those old, wood carved, handmade ones, there's no way in hell I'm touching something, because you don't know what.
Yeah, there are some freaky looking ones that are old. They've been chiseled into a big chunk of wood.
Yeah, and you don't know what kind of juju was put into that situation.
Well, it's kind of like with the Dybbuk.
Yeah,
boxes.
Dybbuk boxes.
Well, but even like
I'm
on
even worried about getting a splinter.
Well, but even like on a medical situation, I mean, think about it. If someone's going to develop cancer, there are people that could be exposed to this type of chemical for a long period of time and not develop cancer. Other people that are exposed to that chemical will develop cancer, or cancer from cigarettes, or cancer from blah blah blah.
So you're saying that more people might. Some people.
What I'm saying is that there's
some
certain
people might be
that
more
are
susceptible to.
Yeah,
Did you hear that?
I did.
It was like
a Darth Dustin.
Yes.
I did hear Darth Dustin.
Didn't catch it that time.
Yeah, it was like that. That's exactly what it sounded like.
You need to be like a sound effects guy for Hollywood. The guy that does the voice effects or the sound effects.
That's exactly what it sounded like.
I was just reading a story here about the Ouija board. This is from someone who's skeptical. I guess you'll see. I mean, you're going to see more. I mean, Ouija board's one of those things when you're in middle school. This girl's cousin used one and they floated away or whatever. Whatever the hell stories they tell. You know what I'm talking about.
I like that one.
They just floated away.
Goes up into the sky.
Yeah,
great story. I never heard that
Never
story.
seen again. Never seen again. They just floated the fuck away. But I was reading that a lot of people will associate movement of the planchette, not necessarily with a conscious I'm trying to fool, even though I think a lot
Here's
of them
the thing.
are.
If I see a Ouija board and honest to God, no one's touching the thing and it starts moving around, I'm like, okay, sold. Ghost stuff. right? But when everyone's touching it and everyone's holding it, it's like a party game.
There is a really good video of a guy, and this was one of those videos that didn't make the rounds it made the rounds as a legitimate video because it's a well-known apartment that had well-known poltergeist activity, and the guy made his own Ouija board with a flipped-over wine glass as the planchette, and he was using that on a big poster board that he wrote all the letters and everything's on. You do see it move, and then the glass breaks, and like the stem like just falls over because the glass breaks. So that one was pretty good, but it wasn't like a Hasbro Ouija board that came off the same line as Monopoly.
Well, with my take on that,
which may not matter, I don't know.
That take on that though is I think it has more to do with you've got to have the right scenarios, the right person, the right time, to use it. That. You could have this person over here go in and use the Ouija board and nothing at all happens. Another person steps in who has a different scenario going on in their life than it could. I just thought that I would throw that out.
It could be.
Your intention, if you just want to go try to talk to grandma who died, well, okay. If your intention is something else, I mean, you never know. Out of all the guys here, I probably believe a little bit more into the metaphysical type stuff than anybody else here. But intention goes into a lot of stuff. When you go out ghost hunting, if your intention is to piss off something, well, you may get the brunt end of that. It's all about your intention and what you want to accomplish with what you're trying to do.
And if you go out and your intention is to find a ghost, you're going to find one.
Right.
Well, maybe.
I mean, really. I mean, what you're saying is true, but also there's equipment out there where you damn sure will find one. Whether it's that SLS camera with the little stick people. I hate that stupid thing. I hate it. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Oh, there's one on your shoulders. One what? A miniature
float
person?
In the sky. The stick figures that are in the sky. Yeah.
It's just like it's just a very, very, very expensive iPhone app is all it is. It's absurd. But you can either break that thing out or you can get out a ghost box and you can hear, stuff on there. Now, I have heard, believe it or not, some ghost box audio EVPs that are pretty freaking good.
I don't think, I wish that there was like some, and there might be some that just scanned the idle frequencies, like the ones that don't have stations.
Here's the problem you're going to end up with that. Any radio station that is around, anything that is there is something that can jump frequencies. So
I was going to say there really is no idle frequency.
There is no such thing as that.
Then I don't want anything to do with that. You know what I mean?
The signal wanders, yeah.
Because you could get one random word from like 5 states over.
Well, you could. And the other thing, if people are not familiar with the way radio stations and everything work with that, you're assigned to a frequency. It's more likely that you're going to bleed over on the next 2 adjacent frequencies. However, with atmospherics and everything else, any number of things can happen. It can shoot it halfway around the country.
That's why sometimes when you're on a radio station, you hear the next radio station.
You could. You absolutely could.
I've been listening to the radio. What the hell was that?
I was getting ready to say something.
Okay. But I've been listening to a radio station before, and I thought, man, this is a brand new one. I'm listening to it, and it's Little Rock.
So what about the white noise machines?
Well, and I use that to sleep all the time.
I was going to say, because I had one for Sophia when she was a baby, and I didn't know if instead of getting a ghost box to scan through, if you could just get a plain white noise machine.
Well, that's what we're talking about, is the fact that there's never anything that's a pure white noise.
Well, they do make white noise machines that play white noise.
That's what I mean. That's what I thought you were talking about.
Okay. Oh, I thought you meant that just they just listen to white noise on the radio.
Wait. Did you hear that?
No.
I keep hearing the breathing sound that we heard earlier. We'll keep moving.
Start Dustin.
Pick up.
No, I was talking about just a white noise
it
machine.
plays the sound effect of white noise. So it's guaranteed white noise there.
That's fine.
What's the one that you're talking about?
That.
What I'm talking about.
Okay, then yes. Then that would be fine.
It doesn't find white noise on a radio. It plays the sound of white noise.
Could you use something like that
I would assume.
Maybe still get...
I don't know the physics involved with how supposedly spirits talk
it's my understanding that what they're doing is you're picking up, the ghosts are talking on the white noise section of the radio. Yeah. So you would have to actually have a radio band to pick that up.
That's what I'm wondering. Is it just the sound of white noise, or does it require an actual radio receiver?
I think it requires a receiver.
That it was what you're talking about. That they somehow
they channel into the
problem with
receiver.
that. The problem with that, though,
you know how you channel into a receiver.
Yeah, well, as one does.
You know how you do that. That's what they do.
But even the wireless mics that you buy now, if you come in and if you look,
and we've had that. Yeah, we had that in Buffalo. At that, remember the preacher started preaching. It's what the hell?
Right, and that was actually on a hardwired mic, which is even more rare.
Yeah,
but it can happen.
I heard a female voice
just now,
like about 10 seconds ago.
Okay. We'll have to listen.
Anytime we're quiet on these things,
It never happens.
Never
We might as well
happens.
keep
It's
going.
never-
That's why I didn't say
never
anything.
one time.
Never works on cue ever.
That's why I didn't interrupt, because I figured we'd have a better shot at catching it if we're all talking.
I may go out and buy just a plain white noise machine, like when you try to sleep.
We could try it
And
and see.
I think we should try
Because
try
I've
it
even
and see.
seen, I thought in an interesting experiment they did one time, and I can't remember, I think it was Ghost Hunters, I think it was Taps. They recorded their EVP questions on a recorder, and then put a recorder, and played those, and then put a recorder next to it to see if their questions being on the same frequency that the recorder's on, if they would get more response.
I like that.
See, the thing is, if you
Did that make sense what I just said to
Yeah,
people
yeah, I
listening?
got
I,
you.
don't know if it did or not. They recorded
what
their
was the
EVP.
result? Like, did anything happen?
They got a lot of EVPs. They got a
you-
lot of EVPs.
Why don't we try that sometime?
That would be
try that.
interesting to do down in the dungeon.
They pre-recorded, just to be clear. I feel like it wasn't clear.
No, I
they
gotcha.
pre-recorded each question onto a recorder and gave adequate time in between each question and placed another recorder next to it that was actually recording. Is what they did. And I've always been, they did that a long time ago, and they've never done it since for some reason that I remember. But that would be an interesting one to try. I've always thought that was a pretty good idea that it was Steve in the Taps group, now that I remember, who came up with that idea. It would be interesting to try out. Anyway, back to the Ouija boards real quick. I was going to say that I never completed my sentence. A lot of people who think they're garbage will say that the planchette is not being moved by a spirit, that it's being moved by the more human neurology stuff, the ideomotor effect, which is when you try not to move consciously, but you subconsciously do move. It's kind of like when you're asleep. Have you ever been asleep and right before you fall asleep, you feel that jerk? That's called a hypnic jerk. And that's part of the ideomotor effect. It's part of the same part of the brain that causes that to happen.
I've always thought too, like you got two people on opposite sides of each other, and one's applying a little bit of force. Like your natural thing is to apply
It is,
equal
yes.
force to keep it where it's at, and then one person like lets up for just a second.
And you don't even know you're doing it, because I have a physical therapy student right now who, on that same topic, whenever he is transferring people, he'll put the gate belt on, and he'll go to help them up, and I'll say, don't help them. He says, hey, I'm not. And I'll be like, and I'll feel it, and I'll be like, you are. You just don't know. Or when we're walking down the hallway, it's like, okay, you're guiding them. You're cueing them. Don't do that. It's like, no, I'm not. It's like, yeah, your fist is in their back. You're cueing them. We do that without even thinking about it. So a lot of people will say the planchette moves through that ideomotor effect where you're trying to be static, but you're not. Who knows? I have no idea. I've never used one to this day. I don't even know that I've seen one out of the box, honestly.
See, the thing with me is like it's a little bit hypocritical for me to like be like, I don't think they work. I think that I've seen things moved. I've seen decks of cards being flipped around. We've seen a lot of things over the years.
We had that happen.
So like
Yeah.
I mean, am I denying the fact that we couldn't set one down and that thing could move? No, I think it probably could. Like in some of the places we've been.
But did it move because it was a Ouija board?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, right. I don't know. A lot of groups will actually use them. Didn't that happen here, Melissa? Didn't somebody use one?
Yeah, well, actually, when the overnight group, the YouTube channel, came back and did their live show, they used one in the girls' dormitory, and I was sitting in there with them, and there was a lot of weird shit that started.
Did the thing move around like it always does, or did it not?
I mean, I wasn't paying attention necessarily to what they were doing with the Ouija board, but there was a lot of weird shadows and noises in that room that...
Once they started using it, or anyway?
Yes. No, once they started using it, I was just getting ready to say, I haven't experienced some of those sounds and stuff in that room. And it was a very... the feeling changed in that space. I wanted to get out when they started using it. And I don't know if that's just my subconscious because it was a Ouija board and I don't really like them, but there was some weird shit that
I was thinking it was someone else who used one here, not those guys. I can see being a YouTube channel breaking out a Ouija board. I honestly can.
I don't know who else. I'm sure someone has.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm
just don't
thinking.
remember.
Maybe I'm thinking of the people who did the what was it they did? I can't remember now.
Which one?
They did the that technique.
The Estes method?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they had
Estes
some weird
method.
Ouija board or something.
Yeah.
Oh, they did the intuitive writing
Oh Lord.
where
Okay. Yeah.
they're doing the Estes method, but then he's also blindfolded and he's writing the stuff that comes to him.
Now, I will tell you this. Here's another thing I've seen done on a lot of paranormal shows that I think is interesting, is they will have one person listening. They have headphones plugged into the recording device that they're capturing EVPs on. That person is in another room asking questions, but then another person is blindfolded in a completely separate room, and I'm saying that backwards. Okay, the person that's blindfolded has on the earphones where they can hear. Do you know what I'm talking about, Melissa?
Yeah.
And they'll say whatever they hear, but there's a person way off that they can't hear asking questions, and they'll see if the two correlate at all, if that makes any sense at all.
That's not a bad idea.
I've seen them doing that where it's like that sensory deprivation thing.
I don't know that I could do the sensory
Well, I know someone who could. He's not here today.
Yeah, no, Ty can do that all day long. That
would.
would give me like major anxiety.
But he can't hear a damn thing.
I was going to say, he's already like partially sensory deprived.
So, yeah.
So who's going to volunteer as tribute to do that? Not me.
So it would,
What we
we'd
could
have
do-
to find somebody else.
We could have Bobby do it
Bobby wouldn't do it.
and then
Wouldn't do
translate it back to Ty.
She
do
would
it,
not
as
sit
long
there
as I'm not,
blindfolded.
in a in like a small space.
You wouldn't want to be at the end of the tunnel doing it?
No.
No, I wouldn't either.
No,
No
just
way.
because it's a
No
tunnel.
way.
I wouldn't
There's
wanna
no
be
way
into
I would
any
be
tunnel.
blindfolded down there. My eyes are wide open. I'm seeing more shit down there than I should.
It's already pitch black at the end of the tunnel.
I know, but
You
there's
already
no.
don't
If
see a whole
I was
lot.
blindfolded, I would feel things touching me all over, and it would
I
all
need to
be in my
able
head.
to see to run if I feel phalanges
Well,
on my back.
So it's probably a bad time to tell you that there's spiders in the tunnel.
I know there's spiders in the tunnel.
Oh, there's all
And
kinds
the-
of
and
that was
spiders
my
down
first
And the big-
concern
and
when
the
we
big-
went down there. If
And
you'll
the big
recall,
jumping crickets. The big
that was my
cave-
number one
cave
concern
crickets.
Of
when
course,
we went
there's
down
big
there.
spiders down there. The tunnel area was the one area that I actually turned and saw something.
Yeah.
And I just never. I don't see things. That doesn't happen.
I told you all he was down there. That was Chris.
What the hell was that?
That was you.
No,
I think it was your chair.
It was either your chair or it was the floor.
No, it came from over way over there.
It came from over there.
I heard that.
I
Because
heard
it
it
went
over
like,
there.
"Boom," like that. It was yeah. What was that?
It was your chair.
Well, then why the hell can't I do it again?
See?
that wasn't it.
That's not it. It's not squeaking.
It went,
All right, we'll have to listen to that. Yeah. We'll have to listen
It's
to
two
that.
against two.
I'm trying to move my leg so I can have some level of comfort here, but
Dustin
it's not working.
and I
I'm
are
tangled
correct.
up in wires.
We'll see.
Dustin and I are correct.
It went.
It sounded like that. Yeah. That's what I heard.
Over there. It was by you.
Who is
Maybe.
the definer of the sounds here? It would be me, and I am the guy who could tell you exactly what it sounded like.
You're just gonna overlay your noise over
Yeah,
it.
that's what you're going to do.
There's a lot of people listening, though, who do believe in Ouija boards. So
Oh yeah, and I'm not knocking them. Like I said,
Well,
I
you
just
can
don't know
knock 'em.
whether like
I think I'm knocking them
I'm
a little.
just well. I
It's
I
going to
wanted
be one of
throw
those
out-
things that until you experience that, you know.
Well, I like what you said. What you just said at the end of what I said was perfect. Like I think that it could move, but is it because if it's a Ouija board
Yeah.
or is it because that it's
I think
something
it's I think it's possible that it's just all depending on who the right person is in the right scenario.
I mean, if you're in the, like I said, with the guy who had the very, haunted apartment. I mean, he had poster board and a wine glass. I mean, that moved. I saw it.
I
And
mean, if we had taken that to like Willard,
they had one already. Remember
Yeah.
that? This is part. This
That's
is what they
what-
claim
that's
was
what's
part
I
of
mean
their problem.
that place was like the most active place
It wasn't,
ever. So
and
like,
I'm not saying it's because they had a Ouija board, but she didn't admit. The daughter did not admit that they'd been using a Ouija
Well,
board in that basement until we'd been there like twice already.
but I think you've got to give some differentiation. I think Ashley's house may be as active as Willard, but Ashley's house didn't feel as mean as Willard did.
no,
I don't
sounded
think it
pretty
was
damn
as
mean.
severe either.
It sounded pretty damn mean.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That house.
But
in
as
Willard's-
far as
Yeah.
no.
But as far as actual, physical feeling like we need to leave, we've never had that.
That's the one and only time that we've ever done an investigation.
Is that because we've experienced that before, or is it because like we just didn't feel as threatened? Because I feel like if Ashley's stuff had happened years ago when we were still younger, and
well, that may be true. However, I remember the reason why we exited that house in Willard, and I think I would still exit today if that were to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm still
that's
not
true.
going in there, dude. I mean, if I hear pterodactyls, and then
It wasn't even that part.
If something
It was-
runs
that's
up on
before
me,
that part. It was-
something
it was all
runs
that-
up on me, and then doors get closed on Chris.
the door being closed, and then just the house sounding like it was collapsing on our way.
That's
out.
what it sounded like. Yeah, it sounded like when you get a pan out of the pan and they all fall
I
out.
kind of expected on our way out in that kitchen to see them all out. Like I was expecting.
I
to
know
look
that's what it
and see
sounded like, but it was behind us where there's like no.
It's
There, I mean,
like
that's bedrooms.
banging on walls, dude. It
Yeah,
was,
I remember. We
it's
exited,
giving me chills thinking.
We
About it.
exited at a fairly high rate of speed.
Yes. Yeah, I was moving.
There's like a scene out of Amityville.
Really was.
Yeah, we were really booking it too. We were getting the hell out of there.
And that's the only
And I think
investigation.
I would today.
I was fully prepared to leave everything in there
I was too.
That's the only time I've ever left.
and tell them, good luck. Sorry.
Have at it.
But that's the only place we ever visited that I ever remember telling Chris, "There's no way in hell I'm going back in that house."
And then we come out.
I wasn't going back, and I had to
I know
call
we've
her.
talked about this a million times, but every time I think about it, I have to talk about it because it was so severe and intense for me. When we get outside and we're all just kind of
It was surreal.
trying to make sense of what just happened, then we hear the creature noise.
Inside, yeah. Yeah, we heard it while we were outside coming from inside.
Didn't we also hear that creature noise before we went back in too? And we went back in to see what was going on.
Well, that's when it was. Like we came outside,
Yeah.
heard it, and then had to.
We had to go back in and get our stuff.
Yeah, but we didn't hear the creature noise after. I don't remember hearing the creature noise after it ran us out of there.
I don't know. My timeline on that whole thing is
No,
jacked
that's
up.
exactly how I remember it.
See, I remember us being outside. We went out for the time when we go out to, like what we usually do in investigations, and we hear that pterodactyl thing. We go back in, and that's whenever I find all the cameras flipped over, and then Chris starts down the hall.
I don't remember. I honestly cannot remember the timeline of events that happened there, and it's not because I was in a Zach Bagans cloud of being possessed. I just don't remember.
It was a long time ago. Really?
It was a long time ago, and then everything seems so scattered because we've never had that happen before where we had to leave like that.
That night when we were leaving, I remember looking in my rearview mirror the whole time, and I, honest to God, thought that there was going to be a big old bird that was chasing us.
Well,
And we fell back to my house.
Yeah, we did. We sat in your driveway because me and Dustin sat there, and we actually said, "What the hell just happened?"
Yeah.
Over there. But to describe the sound we heard, it's. If the sound had originated from outside, you would have thought, "My God, that's a gigantic screech owl or something over there." But it didn't originate from outside. We were standing on the wooden deck, which was attached to the house, with the door open. It came from inside, and it sounded like here in modern science, other than examining the skull structure, we don't know what a pterodactyl sounded like, but. That's what one should sound like.
That's what it sounded.
To me.
Jurassic Park,
like
man.
Rodan.
Jurassic Park stuff.
And it came from inside that. No one will ever tell me it didn't come from inside the house. It had the same room sound as we did when we were in there. It came from inside, and we heard it while we were standing immediately outside.
Well, and the thing that got me too was that every one of our cameras was not only turned off, but flipped over.
I know, and we had
on
one on that
tripods.
miniature, it had like a miniature tripod sitting up on the fireplace mantle or something. I remember.
And it was actually one, I've still got it to this day.
It has a real wide base of support.
Yes, it has it's a circular tripod, and its whole claim to fame is it cannot be tipped over. That's the whole reason you buy that thing. And it was tipped completely over.
Well, I mean, yeah, because the house was coming apart is what it sounded.
That's what it sounded like. Yeah, it did. I mean, we didn't feel, shaking.
I didn't even think to check to see all the misplaced stuff, if there's anything knocked over. Or we didn't care at that point. We were gone.
Yeah, it was over at that point. And I had to call her the next morning because she said, make sure to call the next morning and tell me what you think we should do. Because I was like, what the hell should I tell them?
Get the hell out of there.
We had that debate in his driveway.
I know
what did we tell these people?
What do we tell them? And I told her exactly what we came up with. I said, if it were me, because we decided all you can really say is, what you would do. And I said, if it were me,
I would never go
I
back
would
in
not
there.
go back in there. But I'm
don't
not
own
in
the
the
house.
business of spending someone else's money
Right,
here.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what to tell you to do. If you have the financial ability, did you hear something?
Yes, I did.
I did too. It sounded like it was back behind that door.
It did.
If you have
that's
Which
the thing.
door? That door?
no,
my door.
that one behind his head. If you have the financial ability, I would suggest you never go in there again. But they did, and it burned down.
Well, I was getting ready to say, this is all the things we've been talking about is more personal, what happened to us. We caught
Oh crap! Yeah,
just a
Tons.
myriad of EVPs.
I mean, if we wanted to on the next podcast, we could go through some of that.
I
think we have before.
I know we've done it. I don't know if we've done it since we've moved.
I can't
here.
remember, and
We might have been at the radio
did.
station.
We
No,
did.
you did, because that was not long after I had started.
Yeah,
doing
okay.
the
we did.
podcast,
And
I was.
that's whenever we began.
Did you hear
Yeah,
that?
I heard that.
Wow.
Did you hear that? It said something.
It did.
It was like, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
right in the. It was in the headphones, not in this ear, because I keep one ear out. It was in this one. It came right through the headphones.
Yeah, that was.
That gave me chills. I don't know what that was.
I kind of want to replay it and listen.
We'll have to listen to that now. Of everything I've heard today, that was significant right there. I don't know what the hell that was.
That was kind of creepy.
I mean, we've heard, some distant sounds. It's like, that could have been a dog over there. That could have been, this was right in my left ear. I could hear it. Yeah, just like that.
Well, you know how they are here when you start talking about other places.
That's true. That happens every single time.
My point I was getting ready to make was that's whenever all hell broke loose here for the first, we'd played that house and then we played the nursing facility.
Right.
Oh, yeah. It didn't like the nursing facility.
And it did not like the nursing facility at all. But that's simply because Nick was announcing it was his place.
And that nursing facility one is one I just heard it again.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I just heard it again.
Yeah.
That's what I thought
Yeah,
I heard.
I
It
just
said
said
yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
I said yeah.
Did you whisper it in a ghostly ghost voice?
No.
It was whispered.
It was a, yeah.
Yep.
No, that wasn't me.
Yeah, we'll have to listen back through that. I was getting ready to say, it seems like that one from that skilled nursing facility always does it. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, we haven't played that one in a long time.
They don't like it.
They don't like Nick
We ought to-
because
No.
Nick announces this is his place.
And it's
And they're
not
saying
his place.
it's not his place.
We ought to bring that one up. Maybe next time, next week, we can come in and I can pull that one up and play it and see what happens. Because every time we've played it, something's happened. So why don't we do that? Well, next week, we'll bring that one in and we'll play it and see if that fires it up.
We'll do it. We'll be back soon with another episode of Midwest Ghost Hunters Dark Matter Podcast.